trend for a while.
We actually received a specific question about coconut oil. Let's see, where is that specific question?
Yeah, I mean, I know we picked this one we got a lot of questions and we picked this one because it follows right up. I mean, coconut oil is one of these things that is now considered a complete health food.
Yes.
Right? And we've both had patients, where they've come to us consuming a lot of coconut oil, right? There's the super popular, way to make coffee where you dump a bunch of coconut oil in it. And there's coconut oil diets where you take a spoonful of coconut oil every several hours to keep your appetite satiated. And while it does work, when we look at these people's lipids, it's frightening.
It is frightening.
And it matches the profile of somebody that would be high risk for heart disease. And then we re-educate, we reorientate, we pull it down and numbers change, right? So the question we thought it was a great question because it is perpetuated as a health food. And you and I both sort of don't think it's evil, but we kind of disagree with a lot of
the amount.
It's
the amount.
Right.
I think it has a lot of positive aspects in terms of if you're going to consume a saturated fat, coconut oil is definitely a healthier choice. It is anti-inflammatory.
Right. There's like another saturated fat. You mean like lard or something like that? Right.
Yeah. And it does have a high smoke point. So,
right.
It can be used in moderation, but the reality is, too much of your diet should not be composed of fat.
Right. And that was the question. I've read it, who submitted the question saying, I've read it to be hypocholesteremic, which means lowering cholesterol, which we do not see at all.
That has not been what we've seen clinically.
It's possible, I guess, if you had somebody who was, really obese and they used a high fat diet to lose a lot of weight, it might balance out and the cholesterol might go down a little bit. But we've never seen a case of somebody consuming a lot of coconut oil and their cholesterol levels go down. It's just the reality.
I can think of a few cases that we've had to use the AIP, the autoimmune protocol, where I have used a decent amount of coconut oil for that specific diet, and they lost weight, they felt good, a lot of other symptoms went away, but their cholesterol would go up every single time, and we would have to rebalance that back out.
And then there was questions about its anti-cancer property, but while it might have some anti-cancer potential, like clearly
there are many other foods.
Other
you can eat in large quantities
that are much better studied, that are going to reduce cancer risk. Anti-diabetic, I mean, we're going to have a big debate about that. We're seeing huge shifts in the clinic with actually taking people away from traditional places that people look, like diabetic diets. I think no carb, lots of fat, keto is the way to go, lots of animal protein. And we see that really not to put people in the right direction. And we're having a much better success actually improving blood sugar numbers using low fat and, even a little, not high carb, but not quite as restrictive with the carbohydrates.
The type of carbohydrate is the key.
Yeah. Yep. So I don't agree with that. I mean, antioxidant, yes, but oh my gosh, there's lots of other foods that have amazing antioxidants. I mean, blueberries and nuts and seeds and all sorts of vegetables and fruits. I mean, the antioxidant capacities far surpass that of coconut oil, or at least equal it, and don't have the risk factors when it comes to high cholesterol.
And it's a fun food. I mean,
if
I was going to make chocolate truffles, I would probably use coconut oil with
we did use coconut oil when we made those chocolate truffles.
So
it's delicious.
It definitely can be used in moderation. It's just using large quantities daily, scooping spoonfuls in coffee and, spoonfuls in your sauteed vegetables.
Right.
You're going to run into problems.
Well, the other thing, that you mentioned earlier that I think is worth noting is sometimes, people do need oils for cooking. And if they have something that has a little bit of a higher temperature, coconut oil does come in handy, but a more cardiovascular high smoke point oil would be avocado oil. That's what I was taught.
And even better is to use water.
Well, yes. I mean,
saute.
Water saute works great, but not everyone's going to do that. So if they want an oil, right? I mean, I have avocado oil, olive oil at my house. I try and not use as much of either of them in my cooking. But if I need something higher temperature, if I am going to grill, which, I know is, you're going to say is debatable, but I still use my grill and I still bake things and I still do certain things. It's nice having the avocado oil and not having to rely on the coconut oil. So the point is, I think there's a lot of other ways to be really healthy, and not use a lot of coconut oil. And then there's the, are we ready for the MCT question? Do we want to segue into that?
Sure, we can.
Okay, it's part of it all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, then people do ask about MCT, right? Which is like an extracted form of coconut oil that really isolates out the medium chain triglycerides, right? And people do like those. They like to add it to coffee. It definitely does convert to ketones pretty quickly, which does give people a sense of like mental sharpness and alertness. Yeah, and energy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard to argue with something that makes you feel really good, but an MCT, from what I've learned, in my own study, which is not as detailed as your nutrition study, but MCT is slightly friendlier than coconut oil when it comes to cardiovascular health, because the medium chain triglycerides are a little easier for the body to break down. But you and I will both agree that we really don't want people adding a lot of free oil into their diet, right?
No, you can get plenty of oil or plenty of fat from whole food sources that have a lot more benefits, like nuts and seeds and avocados and olives and, know. So it's not necessary.
Right.
And most people want some animal protein, and you're going to consume some level of fat that way as well. So
from the fat, from the animal protein.
I mean, our advice is use coconut oil in moderation. It's okay to enjoy small amounts here and there, but it wouldn't be our first choice for an oil to use on a daily basis.
I would agree. Yep.